Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to Aquarius Rising Africa. And yes, a little bit of a change in the schedule tonight. Um, Monday, yesterday, obviously, Beverly didn't happen. And so today we're doing a follow on from Aquarius Rising show last week and going to be talking about the next two off-world cycles Beverly had um, in the secret space programs and her very interesting life indeed. Um, but before we go any further, I'm going to just bring up the announcements for this week. So, sit tight, yo. And yes, it's Tuesday, Beverly tonight. Double trouble with Jesse again, actually, but we have the one show on Arrow and the second show on Solutions. So 2:30 Cat on Arrow and 4:30 on Solutions. And then in the field with Chanti on Thursday, we're talking about the hive mind versus the hive mind. So the way that the true essence, when we talk about what's happening on the Ankara field, that type of consciousness, it's about the hexagon, the bees, the understanding of the frequency that the hexagon holds. So we're talking about that versus how it's been flipped, and there's so many ways right now, really as the reverse of the hexagonal, which is the most powerful that there is. And then hopefully Leo's Agami on Friday. And then, of course, the Reham on Saturday. Patreon members book club on Sunday. Patreon and members. And we're doing the book club with Jesse. So a new book club this day. And if you joined our Patreon or members and would like to join a live firsthand with Jessie, I must say she's very good with the book clubs and the way she goes through all of the books. Really amazing. What's going on here? I don't know what's going on here now. Good grief. I'm back. What was that? Ah, that was Beverly's. Okay, it was me pressing wrong buttons again, guys. But anyway, um, let's get that off. And I'm back. So, without any further ado, let's bring the lady of the moment on. Beverly, how are you? Welcome back. So good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you. Nice to be back. How are you doing on your side? Looks like your weather's chaotic and causing havoc with all the different tech and things. And here we've got snow on the way. So it's 3 degrees over here.
Listen,
So
there's no weather tech happening here. This is pure tech. That's for sure.
It's
My word.
Laptops
and sound issues. So yeah, apologies guys for being late. That was technical issues again and not being able to hear but here we are. So, Bev, how are you? How has your week been?
It's been
You
a
want to
busy
maybe, before we go ahead, tell the viewers what you've been up to? Yes, and where can everybody find you? I'm going to pop your banner. There we go. Oops,
There it is, lovely. So this week has been dedicated to writing I know you hate this topic, writing more chapters of the. I know, I can see you squirming. It's the Vampire Nanny. So the
The
Vampire
Vamps.
Nanny
The
is going
Vamps.
to
Yeah,
be out.
yeah,
I know
I'm
it's
going to
gonna
be
be.
so reading that book.
Yeah, well, it's been very good because I've had to remember things. So it's been a case of like memories on top of memories. But what I've had to do is because of the information in the book, I've had to put it forward as a fiction, work of fiction. Because otherwise people like Amazon and the other book places, they'll read and go, oh my goodness me. So yeah, it has to be fiction, but I think we all know more or less what's been going on. But yeah, it's definitely going to happen this year. It'll definitely be out. So that's what I've been writing merrily away this week. And also I got in touch with all of your winners from the Christmas aspect, and I've spoken to pretty much all of them. They've been really lovely. So thank you to all those that won, the 5 winners. And I've got your photographs now, so I'm also working on that. And they shall be getting all of their beautiful drawings and their images pretty soon. Definitely, say by the middle of February, they will all have theirs.
That sounds amazing. And I'm waiting and in anticipation for mine as well.
Yours,
So I
yes.
think that's something really wonderful to actually look forward to. Right.
Yes, I
Yeah,
think it's going to be great. So yeah, I've got
absolutely.
six images to do, which
Hello,
is going to be,
everybody. Nice. Very of me.
yeah. Well, of course you've
6.
got, yeah, because I've got the 5 for the winners and plus yours.
Oh, right. I thought I was a sixth one, or there was 6 images. That's what I was asking. Okay, guys,
No,
here's Bev's website. So in case you can't grab it there, so if you guys, yeah, what you've been up to, and yeah, what just check Beverly's website out, all of those wonderful things. So, Bev,
hmm.
getting back to our topic for the evening, um, maybe you want to just recap for our viewers that haven't watched the previous show, although I highly recommend that you do, and definitely invite those of you who haven't watched to watch the first show. Absolutely fascinating. Beverly has gone through 3 20-year cycles off Earth in alternate realms or dimensions. And the first one was at the age of 3, the other one at the age
80,
of
87, 1987,
oh,
and the next,
1987.
yeah,
Okay.
1987, and then the next one after that,
1964,
2005
1987,
and 2005.
2005. So she's literally at the end, or during 2025, ended her third 20-year cycle off Earth, doing
It's intel gathering, pretty much.
off
That's what.
earthly things.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
how did
like gathering information. Really, that's what it is.
are you saying like you like a little bit of a spy, like a spy?
And not
Is
really a
that what you were?
spy. Not really a spy. Just because certain of those beings, they don't trust, and secondly, some of them won't really talk about things unless they feel, well, it's an awful thing to say, unless they feel that, oh, that's just a human. What's the human going to do? You know, hmm. They think of us as nothing really. So when you're on that particular planetoid, it doesn't really matter because literally humans are disposable. Along with, not it's not just us, it's others as well. They're also disposable. So they're not gonna worry, if you know what I mean, about talking in front of a human. Because let's face it, what are we
Right.
gonna do? We're very small.
Yeah.
These beings are ginormous, most of them. So they're not going to worry about talking in front of us. And for me particularly, I was in service, so I was no better than just a servant, really. So, and you think about it
Wow.
when if you think about humans that are in service here and how we are amongst ourselves and how we react and how we act to individuals that are waiting on tables or cleaning houses or making our food for us as a cook in the house, you can see that's kind of where I was at. I was just in service. So literally the same level as a servant. That's it. So that's why
Wow.
it was easy for them to be able to talk in front of me, because, I mean, let's face it, what is a servant going to do? Nothing. Safe. Nope.
And that's no doubt. And it's the same thing, I would imagine, in many other areas as well, why they use kids and they weaponize kids like that, because who expects a child to suddenly blow up the place or have these special powers that are gathering all the information in their vicinity, pretty much, and
Exactly.
beyond. So it's very interesting that.
It
Maybe you
was.
want to just recap for us in a few sentences, if you can, what the first 20 years cycle was about for you, and then if you can then from there on take us into the next 20-year cycle and then the next one that brought you, after which you came as a guest onto Ara, and obviously from there onwards are sharing that information. So I have to say, we feel pretty special on this channel. Thank you, Bev,
Oh, good.
that you
Oh,
are choosing us to
to
share
share
this
the message.
incredible.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
well, the most important one was obviously in the 60s, around, what is it, about 64, around there. That was the first one. And that was really where the beings that are there realized that there was an opportunity for all of the children that were on the craft to be offered to go and do 20 years off world and do some sort of work, make it worthwhile. And that was when you get age progressed. So as a little 3-year-old, obviously you're not going to be able to do pretty much anything except play with toys, which was good. So what they did is, those of us that were there playing within the craft, some of them were age progressed so that they could actually talk with us and say, this is what we're trying to do. This is the information we're trying to get. Is that something that you could do by agreeing to be in service or as a servant on that particular planetoid? Because they do send, like, beings will send individuals to go on an event, or they'll send them to go and just rest and recover and just, swim and enjoy themselves, because there's a whole floor that's got water, particularly for like amphibians and beings that enjoy water and need water. So that particular floor is very well visited, shall we say, by specific individuals. So in that period, it was one of those periods where they said, would you consider spending 20 years and then we'll bring you back and you can go back home, and then you can decide whether you are happy to do any more times off world. So I thought, well, at that time I did not know what it would mean, and I did not know how different things would be. And obviously I didn't know exactly, what did they want. And then I was also asking questions. Well, you're so advanced as these beings, you're so advanced, with these particular other beings that you are targeting, why can't you just use technology? Just, kick them up the bottom. Just get the technology. And they said, mm-mm. They would know the technology is coming. They just close off. They close their mind. They wear whatever they need to wear. They cannot be infiltrated. The only time that they will say things and they will talk amongst themselves or share, images or whatever they do with each other is when there is individuals in the room or around them that basically mean nothing. And that would mean you'd have to be a servant. And I
And then
thought,
they
well,
start speaking
they speak.
as if you're not there, and as if you
Yeah.
don't understand what they're saying.
Yeah.
It's like kind of, when you got kids, I don't know what it's like everywhere else, but here in South Africa, you have kids, and then suddenly, when you don't want your kids to understand, you start speaking Afrikaans or another language. It's
Yes, I used to do that.
like,
Yeah,
as if your kids
exactly.
don't understand.
Mm,
And we're like going, duh, our parents are so dumb. Of course we understand what they're saying.
exactly.
Like, wow,
So that was it because I
wow.
was thinking, what? You know how you would automatically think these races of beings are so advanced that you think, oh, shooey, you know, surely they can just, you have these assumptions in your head and you think, well, they can just go zzz, and well, that's what I thought originally. I thought, well, you can just zap them, surely. No, no, you can't.
Yeah, no, I can
You've got to get
imagine.
them to talk. Get them
There,
to talk.
I can well imagine.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yes, I can well imagine with these advanced alien species. These
Yeah,
guys are so. Oh, where did I go? I'm back. These guys are so psychically tuned in.
yeah,
They, you, I know. I mean, as a seer, I want to tell you, they know when you see them, and
mm,
they'll allow it or not. What I've discovered, and if and what I've discovered with in certain instances is that, and this is how they use their defense magic. So they'll allow you to see what they're doing, but then they'll hit you with something
no,
so that you've seen, but you can't do anything with it. It's like, and then there'll be some type of destructive force that's occurred in your life.
yeah,
It's amazing. I see how they do it. They tried it with me. It was like, what the hell just happened? But I was like, boop, boop, boop. And then I could see what was going on, how they do it. It's actually phenomenal. And they're super, super, super smart and super tuned in. Wow.
yeah.
They really are.
And that's why when they do like the age progression, it's like they don't add in all of the extra finer details and the levels that are needed. They don't do that. So when they age progress you, I'm not saying they keep you as a simpleton, but they kind of do. So you don't, if you have got a natural ability like I have always had, they make sure that they don't make it too obvious. So that when you are in front of them, they will scan you, these horrible things, they will scan you and have a good look. And they'll say, it's like, meh. Well, oh well, that one's a bit slow.
Meanwhile, back at the ranch, they're going vroom, vroom. They're probably like, going, wow, I've never seen energy like that. I'm keeping that one for later. They're probably so creepy. Who are these beings that you're talking about? I know last week you spoke about the mantis beings and the dwarf mantis beings
Mm,
that are very evolved and
they are
highly advanced when it comes
very,
to DNA
yep.
splicing and manipulation.
Mm.
So, did you have a lot to do with them? Who are we talking about here when you talk about these beings that were scanning you and doing the age progression in the first cycle? Who were they?
The first cycle was the original ones. Well, it was on that craft, but then when they take you to when you have agreed, basically, when you have a mind to agree, so you need to be old enough that you can understand, and that your free will is such that you can say, yes, I understand what you're asking me to do. You're asking me to be a servant, and you're asking me to listen carefully to what these creatures, I call them creatures. I mean, obviously they're beings, but I just thought they were. Bleh. So you're asking me to listen to what they're saying and then go back and report back to my whoever it is that's my handler. And I said, is that what you're asking me to do? And they said, yeah, that's pretty much in a nutshell. That is what we're asking you to do. Go back, tell us what you can hear, tell us what they're saying, but listen for all of the detail, because they're not, they can just literally take their hand and go, and that's it. And you'll be dead before you even hit the ground. So I kind of knew I was going into a difficult situation, but I also knew that, I was no threat, because I wasn't. I mean, what is a human being going to do to Nagas or, Draco or others that are similar, that side and stand with those individual types of races? We're not a threat to them at all, not at all.
What's a
So that's
Naga?
And no, it's like the best way to explain it is like a snake. It's like a snake type being. They have the tails are very dangerous as well, because the tail is like, it's like the fifth hand, and if they choose to whip it around, if that hits you and it's got a point on the end, and some of the others have also got points on the end, if that hits you, you're not going to survive that.
Like a scorpion.
It's more like this a weird kind of snake being. I'll see if I can find a picture to be able to share it with you. But
What
they
were
are
they? What were they interested in you for? The Nagas, it's the snake type beings. What were they
the
looking for?
Nagas. The Nagas weren't interested in me at all. They were only interested in me helping them, waiting on them, looking after them, doing. I mean, it's just tasks, menial tasks that are
So
like,
what do they get up to in the galaxy? What is their claim to fame?
I don't really know exactly what the Nagas do. I know that they had appeared, because that was part of the joke, that they used to say, "Oh, this is a little human. We visited Earth, and you look at us as gods." Uh-huh. I'm like, okay, fine. Not really, but never mind. I just carry on doing what I'm doing, you know. And I think that there's some peoples and religions that look at the Nagas in a very special way, because of when they originally came to Earth and showed themselves. But I just had to keep it very quiet, very careful. I knew who my handler was, and I knew when I had to go and say, "This is what I've heard." Sometimes it was nothing. Sometimes there wasn't anything to report. There was like nothing. They weren't talking about anything. They weren't planning anything. They were not, it was a nothing. It was like just nothing. But
Who
then
are you getting? Sorry, I want to just ask you,
mhm,
who are you getting information for? Who is your handler? Was
my
that the
handler,
human side?
my handler was a feline male who eventually, the second time I went back in the 80s, 87, he decided that he would purchase a set of ovum or eggs that had been lifted from me. So he did. He bought a set of 4, because there was only 12 that was lifted, and he bought a set of 4. And out of that set of 4 was created one hybrid part-bred being, which was half human and half from his genetic makeup, his DNA. So, they ended up with basically a half being, a hybrid being. So he was the one that always said, if you want out, if you're not coping with this, if you're not happy with the way things are, just come and tell me, and we'll make some arrangements. We'll change things. And in the 87 one, that's round number 2. I was very lucky because I was actually assigned someone as a protector, because it was getting a little bit sort of dicey in some of the things that were happening. I had already had
What do you mean? Are you
well,
saying that you were assigned, assigned a protector, or you became a protector?
oh no, I would be useless as a protector. Absolutely useless. No, I was assigned a protector, and the
Okay.
protector
Okay.
was someone who was working for and with the felines, knew what I was doing, but then hardly ever said any words actually. But that protector was the one that made sure, because I think I'd had 2 incidents where I had to get taken back down to the med bay, because the one time they decided I did something wrong. I can't remember what it was, but I ended up with broken hands, broken arms, and that's just from one swipe from one of these Draco beings. Just one swipe, I just flew across the room and ended up with a lot broken. So, and then the second time, trying to remember. Oh, yeah. There was an infiltration of some sort of parasite. Yeah, not nice. So there was this parasite that they had brought in, and I didn't know, and I was doing the work that I do, and this parasite ended up getting into my actual body, and then I had to be taken down to the medical bay because that thing had started growing and eating flesh on the inside. Not very nice. So I ended up being taken to the medical area, and then they had to do like a whole sort of, I don't know, get that thing out and clean up and whatever. So I was then assigned someone that would look after me to make sure that I got back to my quarters and then got back to where I needed to be. So that was why that very tall being that was always in sort of like some sort of armor or something. So I had someone then that was looking after me, which was really great. And that was the same person second time round, so 87, and then 2005, my last one, that person was still there working. So that was good. And then, you basically just, there was not just me, there was a whole lot of us actually, mainly human, not, I didn't see any other ones that were doing the same sort of in service, because humans are quite small when you look at everybody else. I mean, everybody else is a lot of the others are much bigger than we are, and not as frail as we are. So that's why we're disposable. We're not where I wasn't. I was small, and when I first went, if you look at human size, I was only a size UK size 8, so that's a very slight frame. And although I had very long legs, and I used to get teased about that I looked like a spider, which is not very nice. But yeah, and then I was just really small, and although I'm 5'9", I'm tall, but I'm thin, and that was in those years. I was tall but thin, and so I was like a toothpick. You can, these creatures can just whack you. And, some of them are 10 foot, 12 foot, some of them even larger than that. The royalties, the white ones, the big white ones, they can be 15, 18, 20 feet. And they've got wings. I'm like, oh, God, they've got wings. They're horrible bloody
They've
things.
got wings?
The white ones, yeah, the royals. Not nice. Horrible.
Okay. Explain to me what the white ones, the royals, explain what that is. And that's the Dracos you're talking about.
That's the Dracos, yeah. They are, I mean, they are terrifying. They seriously are. They're terrifying.
What do they look like?
They are, if you can imagine, I think the best way, I actually saw an iguana here on Earth, and I thought, oh, that looks quite familiar. But they're not, they look like an iguana in a way, but the difference is they stand up. They don't crawl around on all fours. They stand up. They have these like retractable wings on their backs, and you can actually hear it. You can hear them going, and then when they open up, oh Lord, yeah, just not nice. And then they're white. They're beautifully white. They're almost like an iridescent, sort of a shiny. But some of them, the tallest one I ever saw was one that could hardly get through the doors and the areas in the royal area. So they have like this, they have a VIP area, and then they have a separate area just for royals and just for those that are very, very high standing. And that's where they come through. And it has to be because some of them, their craft are particularly big, but they are ginormous. They're huge. So if you can imagine, I mean, what are we going to do to that? Nothing. Because we're like this big and they're that big. So, yeah, they have those wings, and you can hear the wings opening and closing, opening and closing. They don't generally utilize their wings if they're inside a facility, which is good. But they have like the most awful attitude. If you can imagine one of the worst royals here on Earth and their attitude. So you imagine somebody like Mountbatten or the old Prince Andrew. Imagine him. Not nice. Imagine his attitude. Very entitled, very full of it.
Right.
That's how the white ones are. And when you see the white ones, everybody in the facility knows that's a royal. The white ones. That they don't appear much. When they do, you know all about it because they just have that expectation, run around after me, get me what I want, do this, do that. That's how they are. So, yeah, the white ones are, they just command the space. They just command everything. They just, they don't go there that often because I don't think that they feel that facility is particularly good, because even though they have a royal section, I just think that the beings that are looking after the royals, I just don't think, you can just see they're like, they look at you down there, very long noses with their two slits at the end. You can just see they're like, oh, well, I'm here. I'm going to be here just for a short period and then I'm going. So, yeah.
Wow. So they weren't your handlers. The Draco weren't your handlers. It was this feline being. What was his name again? You told us last week.
It depends which one it was, but there were different ones. The males have different types of names, and it's not a name that with a human tongue that you can actually say. So I would just give them their own names. So it would be one of them, you end up calling that one like Chiquitu or something like that. You give it a different name because I couldn't say
That's all you could say.
That's all.
Yeah.
I mean, he knew, and he would just laugh. He would just look at me and just laugh and just go, oh my God, there she goes, just giving me another name. So, you know, you end up looking at it and thinking, well, I don't know, I can't say that. I can't say that. You know, there's lots of like, it sounds a bit like, you know, the coarser people with the clicking.
Yeah, the
And then
clicking.
you've got, and then there's the clicking, and then there's this high pitched squeak. It sounds like well, a bit like a whale or
Right,
one of
dolphin.
the dolphins. Yeah.
Right, makes sense.
And there's no way we can make a dolphin sound. I mean, that would,
No.
you know, that would sound a bit wrong. But yeah, so I just said, well, you know, I'm going to name you whatever because I can't. What am I
Interesting.
supposed to?
What the truth Shiv Shakti says. This explains why these Luciferians love to wear all white. Actually, makes a lot of sense when you're looking at it like that. You know, we led to believe white is this pure color of purity and what have you, and perhaps it is, right? But
Mm,
when you're looking at it like that, you know, we can see it from a different angle as well. What I'd like to find out from you, you mentioned that you had 12 eggs
mm-hmm.
that were harvested from you,
Yeah.
of which four were taken by
Well,
your.
they were all of them were auctioned off, all 12 in sets of 4.
I was going to say, because your feline handler had 4 sets. Before we get there,
Mm.
what happened to the other sets, the other 2 sets of 4?
There was another set. There was another set that was taken that were created into what they call a splitter half, or where you basically part of your soul essence. And this was during one of the times where I had got really hurt, and then while they were busy with that, they did that split. So I had 3 others that were created from those eggs. One of them didn't survive, but there are 3. So there was one that was a red auburn-haired one. There was then Sasha, who I then named Sasha. I was given the right to, because it's my tissue. I was then given the right to either give them names or not give them names. So Red, with the auburn hair, she was just called Red. They were on the same slave number, so 126694. They all had the same number. So when they had their collars put on, they were part of my collar. So I would always know where they were. So we all had the same collar on. And then the last one, so the blonde one was Sasha, and then the last one was the dark-haired one, and she was just basically she kept her number. So the test tube number that she was in was B52. She just stayed as B52. The reason why she stayed as B52 is they trained her. They were decided that the dark-haired one was going to be the one that would be recycled the most. In other words, she would be sent out to do various awful jobs, including going into hostile environments, and taking out whoever she needed to take out. So that's why they said, well, you don't need to actually name her, because she can just have the name that's on the tubes. It's fine. So she was B52, and she had pitch black hair, and she used to go out there and kick ass wherever she had to. But she did. She was, her remains were brought in, shall we say. Her remains were brought in many times, unfortunately. So she was reconstituted time and time and time again, sadly.
Are these the 4 eggs that were taken by your feline handler?
The feline handler took one set, the 4, and then the others were the 4 that were made up with the 3. There's one that didn't make it. So there was those 3, including B52. But Antica, which was the hybrid, so half me, half him, Antica was the one that was created as a hybrid, because he bought from the auction, he bought the 4 eggs. And out of the 4 eggs, he only got one. He got Antica. So
But you said there were 12 that were harvested.
there was
He got
12.
4.
Yeah.
So what happened to the other 8? The ones you've mentioned, were they all the ones that he took, that he harvested, that he bought?
He bought a set of 4 because they were sold in sets
Yes,
of 4. So he bought
yes,
4. He got Antica, one hybrid. That's them. Then there was another set of 4 that was maintained by the, what do you call them? The dwarf beings, the dwarf mantis beings.
mantis.
Yeah. And they then said, well, while you're in the hospital, while you're in the medical facility, we're gonna then take some of the harness, some of the soul energy, put them into these others so that they can do the work. Because it's actually easier to have one slave, me, just a slave. You don't have any rights, remember? No rights. So you're there to do your job. You're there to be in service. You get given your slave number. When you arrive there, you get treated like, let's say, pedigreed dog or racehorse. You get checked over, your teeth, your bones, your structure, your brain, everything gets written down, what it is you look like, how if your frame and your structure is really skinny, then they will say, this particular slave hasn't got strength to do manual labor or hasn't got the strength to do that. That person needs to be fed a bit more because they're too skinny. They'll write it all up and say, this is what we need to do with that one. It's pretty much like if you had breeding dogs or if you had a racehorse, same thing. That horse has not got enough power and it needs to be fed a bit more so that it can run better. Same thing. You don't have any rights at all, nothing. And, if you get hurt, oh well, so fine, you get hurt. They put you back into the medical facility, they put you back together again, put you back on the floor, back out doing your job. So, it's just this for 20 years, it's this never ending cycle. At least you know that you're going to go home. You will
What
go home.
did you do? What did you do in the second cycle? What were the things that you remember most about the second cycle of world?
The second cycle was obviously the auction, was the taking of the 12 ovum over that time, which they do basically. It's almost like a lapscope, so laparoscopy, where they go in through the navel and then they suck out eggs that are ready, and they will give you, like, I don't know what it is, I don't know what it's called, but they'll give you a couple of shots that are, I believe that there's some sort of a hormone that will get the ovaries to a point where the eggs are ready for harvest. So there was only 12 that were ready for harvest. And so they would harvest those, package them into sets of 4, and then they're open for, there's nothing you can say and nothing that you can do because, you basically are sold into service. That's it.
So there seems to be quite a large market for female tissue. Is it only female tissue? But I'm imagining it would be the sperm, maybe, of men as well,
Mm.
that are harvested through all sorts of nefarious ways. Why is it that there seems to be such a large demand for human tissue to these off-worldly beings?
Because we have got, let's put my glasses on quickly. Yeah, that's better. We have got a lot of DNA, cosmic DNA, from all sorts of different beings. We are not just humans. We have got
Yes, I
all
agree.
sorts of strands of DNA within us that become very obvious. So we become very valuable. Plus, the biggest aspect is we are sovereign. We are sovereign souls. We have free will. We have souls. We have part of the creator, part of source, part of the light within us.
But if that's what we are, why do they disrespect us so much then? Why do they treat us like we are cattle or vermin,
Mm,
as so often being said, the useless feeders, you know?
mm.
Why are we treated that way by our alien neighbors?
I think the only thing I can think of, I mean, I've never asked them that question, mainly because I was just always too busy doing stuff and getting stuff done. But I think that if you go back in history, when the changes took place here, and when we were first sort of spliced, if you like, and created as beings, I think that the original reason, if you go back, we were always originally created to be the slaves for those particular races. And I think some of those races have never really got past that. They still view us as, even though a lot of them, a lot of humans that I saw there were great warriors. I mean, they do extremely well, even though they're small. They become very strong, they become very adept, and they get very clever very quickly. So I think that is part of the stigma that's attached to humans, is that originally those other beings came to Earth, and the groups of human beings that were created originally, I mean, centuries and centuries ago, they were created from sort of like either Denisovian or Neanderthal men and women, and that's where the DNA was changed. And I think that is a stigma that follows us around the universe, is, well, actually, you know, you're a slave race. That's what you were created for. You were created to mine the gold in South Africa and other areas across Africa. You were created to serve those that were coming from other planets, which includes, obviously, Draco and other reptilians, as well as other types of beings. That's the only thing I can think of. I can't say absolutely that's the reason. I can just assume that could be the reason. It's pretty much like, we here on Earth, we had a slave continent, Australia, where human beings were sent. And even to this day, there are those that talk about themselves as being originated or lineage as part of the original individuals that were sent on slave ships, and that were prisoners because they'd done something wrong, and they were sent out to Australia, and they all are slave descendants from prisoners. And pretty much, I think when I was there, I was still a slave too. I mean, that's why I remember my number so well, is I was a slave, no rights, which is different because you end up with a different view on things, and you appreciate then, people of color, those that have unfortunately had to go through the same cycle, the slavery cycle, which is awful, because you end up having to go through exactly the same thing off world. And that's why you have a totally different perspective on how things are here on the earth plane. I think you're on mute.
I was just saying that actually makes perfect sense. Thank you, Chief Shakti. Appreciate your super sticker. I really do. So nice when you get gifts. Love it. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Beverly.
Hmm.
Okay, so the second cycle. I mean, if we go back to first cycle, I remember you were saying you had quite a few health issues, but a little baby at 3, right? But
Yeah.
of course, I think that was also just your brain adjusting and your body just assimilating to this unbelievable experience you just
Mm.
had, that the human body is really not actually geared for at this point. I believe as we
True.
evolve,
Yeah.
because we are so intelligent, I do believe we
Mm.
are potentially hold the potential. I mean, you've read the Ankara field for for the most intelligent beings that God has created, because we
Mm.
are a in my opinion, the culmination of a lot of species of DNA. And in fact, 12, that's what I say. So, which is why 12 is such, I mean, we have 12 strands of DNA. Scientists have termed the other 10 junk DNA because they don't know what it is. But
No, they
as we
don't know what
start,
it is.
yes, and as we start awakening, right, it's like the DNA replugs in. It's like plugging back into a socket. And
Mm,
suddenly the hairdryer that now was a useless object, once you plug it in, switch it on, brrr, awesome hairdo again, right?
yeah,
So now it
yeah.
becomes a useful object. So that's what starts happening. And we start remembering who we are. We start
Mm,
remembering our origins. We start remembering so much more um, of what we've ever been taught. And spiritual information, when you tuned in, look, if
mm.
you tuned into all sorts of other bullshit stations in the universe, you're going to get a whole lot of crap coming into your psyche as well.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Through
definitely.
discernment, we have to align. And once we have that alignment and discernment, and you get a download of truth, there's no ways anyone can ever take that away from you. You know the truth. You
Mm,
know it because you know God. And that is true. So these unseen things, I think, are so important that we strengthen ourselves in. Because where we're at right now, I mean, people like you, and not only you, I mean, you speak to guys like Akin Ra, right? I
mm.
mean, he's got the craziest stories about also he's Penny Bradley. He's actually Penny Bradley's also her spliced son. They used her DNA to create Arkin. And you know Penny from the show you were doing.
I do,
So, I
yeah.
mean, these guys have been doing this for the longest time.
Mm,
It's atrocious that they do this to humans, right?
mm.
What was your experience returning the second time around? What was that like? You must have been quite a bit older then.
Yeah, I was much older then, and I had gone through. Once again, I was doing the same job. I was still, I was doing the same job, same slave number, same areas. And that's one of the reasons why they had said, would I consider going back and doing another 20? And I said, why can't you just go find someone else? Like, really? Do you need to have me? Why? And they said, because you've already done 20 years. You already know the process, you know the procedures, you know the protocols, but more so, those individuals, i.e., those that you have been chatting to or listening, more so listening, they already know you. They know you're not a threat, and actually, they can't be bothered with you. They've already swiped you a few times. You've already had to, go to the hospital and get better and then be put back and carry on working. They're not, they see you literally. They see you as a nothing. You are not a threat to them. So that's why we would like you to come back. So that was the reason why the second 1987 one happened. So they then said, we will wait for you to go to hospital here on the earth plane and we'll come and pull you out when you're on the operating table. So I agreed to go back again and do the same thing and collect what I needed to collect. So when I was on the operating table, quite a serious operation actually, uh, they then stopped everything, got into the area, took me out, allowed the being that was there, or the body that was there, to continue. So they do the clone switcheroo. Ended up going with them and then did 20 years again. Again. And then I had to just make sure that by this time, because of the unfortunate first sort of 5-6 years where it got a bit hair raising, I was then assigned the protector. And the protector then was able to make sure that, when things got a bit too close for comfort, I would then get extracted and then wait and then go back. So it was like a very big case of cat and mouse. Sad but true. Literally cat and mouse. And then going back and then getting that information and feeding that back in. Pretty much that's all it was. It was just waiting, listening, remembering, coming back out, and going back to where I needed to go, back to the handler to say, right, there you go, this is what I've heard. Sometimes it was just fragments of things, because you don't always get the full story. Not really. You'll get part of the story. And I used to say to them, what the hell? Why is this important? Because I'd think, I don't understand it. I don't understand what this bit means and why this little bit's got to be part of some bigger. I have no idea. I just go and give you the information, and what you do with it is up to you, and get on with what I've got to do, and start and count the years till the 20 years until I get back to the return room, get age regressed, get taken back to where I was firstly removed. And that was kind of what I was doing. So I never really thought that I was doing anything particularly special. I didn't think it was anything special at all. And I really didn't think anything of it. In fact, I thought what I found more upsetting was when I used to see the rest of the children. Because, children, there's at least 500,000 children removed off Earth every year. 500,000 children removed across the world. That used to upset me far more than the work that I was doing. And then I was
When you
back.
say removed, what exactly do you mean removed?
I think there is a galactic agreement of some sort that I think was made centuries ago, actually, from what I understand. And that allows children that are lost, or children that are run away from home. A lot of them are runaways. They are allowed, these off-world individuals are allowed to take them, and that includes the tall greys, they are allowed to take. They are allowed to take
Are the
children.
Greys the Draco or the Pleiadian?
The greys are separate. They are soulless. They're awful types of creatures. They are the ones with the big. They're the ones with the big black slanty. They've got like a visor film over their eyes. They were a race created specifically by the Draco. So they will do as they're told. They don't have a soul at all. They just basically do their job. So if they're told this today, you're going to go to that particular planet, this is what you've got to do, this is your job, that's what you've got to do, go and get X, Y, and Z, whether it's animals or whether it's plant or whether it's humans, doesn't matter. They will come and fetch what they need to fetch, and they've got no feelings at all. They're not human. They don't have souls. They're basically just a skin cells, and that's it. They get to do their job, and
like
that's
robots.
Yeah, but
like galactic robots.
Organics though, they're organic robots.
Yeah,
they're not
sure.
they're not metal, or they're not created from tech.
Just cold-blooded.
They're organic, basically. Yeah.
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 Okay, so I'm sure there's lots more conversations we can have around that, but I'm going to leave that also maybe for another day, because I'd love to hear then. Talk to us about the third cycle. So you came back after the second cycle, and then again in 2005, they approached you again. Was it your same feline handler that was approaching you?
It's the same one. Yeah, it's the same one. Plus, by that time, Antika, which is the hybrid child, Antika by that time.
And he's hybrid child. So she was half human, half lion.
Yes, half, basically half and half. Yes, she was a hybrid. Very, very sweet. Very sweet. So she was already, by that time, she'd already been fully grown. She'd grown up into a nice young woman, very, very different. Had lots of earrings and piercings and stuff, and just enjoyed. Yeah, she was different. She was very different. She had like a downy sort of face, um, very big eyes, like amber colored eyes, very, very lovely, but very, I think she took the quiet side of me where I was just getting on with what I had to do. She took that to herself, but then she had his feline side, so she liked to be a warrior too, but she was also quite quiet. So she was, I think it was good because at least I could spend what, 30 years with her, which is for them nothing. 30 is nothing. It's absolutely nothing. I mean, they live for 6, 7, 8, 900 years our time. So the fact that I was able to spend 30 years with her was really lovely.
And your others are the one I know you spoke about B-52 was just a number, and she was obviously some type of an assassin or black ops.
Yeah, she got all the
Was it
young
also
girls.
was it also his DNA, your handler?
No, no, B-52 wasn't. She was just pure slave too, pretty much like me.
So who did they blend your DNA with B-52?
B-52 was another me, but just taken as a me entity, my DNA, what I look like. The only difference there is that those that were birthed had different hair color, were different, also slight frame, but they looked the same as me, but they took some of my essence to put into them. Otherwise, they would have been soulless, which they can do as
Yeah.
well. I mean, there's a lot of soulless ones out there, a lot of soulless ones out there, but they took my portion of my essence and put that into them. B-52, unfortunately, is no longer with us. She expired, I think about, I think 2005. Something happened to her, and they just they just couldn't reconstitute her at all. I think she'd been reconstituted too many times, so the last time that she was put back in, they didn't bring her back. They allowed her to expire.
And then there was one more, the auburn hair. Who's she?
Red is still around. She's just in service, so she's basically just somebody that is helping do work, not manual labor, but she just does. I think you would consider her more of a person that would be in a house, or that would be helping in a particular facility. That's all she does. She's not, because none of them are particularly advanced. None of them are very, very clever. None of them are technologically advanced. They're just servants. That's all they are. They're not anything great. They're just servants. And of course, an assassin for B-52. And then you've got Sasha. Sasha's a little bit different. Sasha's the blonde one. She's more she's very good with animals. She's an animal communicator, but she does a lot to do with plants and medicine. So she will, like, if somebody comes to them and says, I'm very sick and I don't have an ability to heal myself, or I don't have an ability to use plant medicine or something like that, that's what she'll do. She will mix something up to help someone. Just as much as we think that out in the different universes, we think that they are more advanced, and that some races don't have famine, some races don't have health issues, some races are very spiritually advanced. Just as much as we think that, there are also those that are not. There are
Mm,
areas that have famine. There are areas that
mm,
do have health issues, and people don't
definitely.
have the facilities, or they just don't have the capabilities of helping themselves, that still exists in some of the younger populations. It does exist. It's not a perfect environment.
Okay. Now let's go for cycle 3 that occurred in 1987. So yet again, you agree. What made you agree to do a third cycle of this? I mean, but maybe just pause for a minute. And if you had to reflect, let's say before you move on to cycle 3, and if you had to reflect about what you learned, gained, understood from your previous 2 cycles, what would that have been for you? Working with these off-world earthly beings.
I think the most important aspect was that even though Earth is very young and the beings that walk on that are surface dwellers, we won't talk about those that are under the earth because there are those. As surface dwellers, I think that what I learned was not all planets are created equal. Not all planets are spiritually advanced, particularly those that are at the same level as we are. There are planets that have beings on it that are like us, that are, waking up, they're spiritually working things out, and they're moving to a point where eventually one day they will be able to travel across different galaxies and in the stars. But there are those that are not doing that, like we're not. I mean, we're not yet. We will be, but we're not
Hmm.
doing. We're not out there, having craft and just disappearing. We have some that can get out into the cosmos, yes, but we don't. It's not something that's it's easy. Oh, I'm just going to get on one of the craft and disappear to Mars. We haven't got there yet, and there are other beings on other planets that are exactly the same as we are. So when I came back, I thought, well, actually, we're not as far behind, and we're not as bad as people think. That we're a backward race. We're not a backward race. Yes, we're not that strong because we're not that tall and we're not that big, but we're getting better. And that was one of the biggest things that I learned was, well, every time I go back, I'm closer to being able to live my own life. And that's what the final time off world in 2005 was. So when there was the explosion in the 7th of July London bombings, that was, I had to go for treatment and was in hospitals and things like that. And when they had asked and said this, because humans really can only do, in my view, humans can only do 3 at the most. And that was the last time I was ever going to do anything. And I said, okay, I will come back. I will do another 20, but this is it. Last time. I will go back home, be back here, and I won't have to go back because my physical body cannot be age regressed again. It won't make it. And that's just the fact, because it can only do it so many times and then it cannot do it anymore. And that's what they said. Well, this is the last time. You won't have to come back. Just go back into your space, into your spot, because I had a spot. That was my spot and my quarters and my protector. And it was like, oh, well, here she comes again. It's that one. And just did my job. Same thing,
So
same way.
what did you do? What did you do the third time around? Was it also being a servant, a slave, listening to the Dracos? Was it anyone else you were listening to, or was it merely the Draco Royals or whatever they were, the white ones, gathering information, passing it on to your feline handler?
The bottom line was pretty much always the same. It was obtain the information, it doesn't matter. And I had to learn this. And I think probably by the third time, I realized whatever rubbish I hear, I'll think it's rubbish. I will think, what the hell? That's, what's that going to do? But you learn very quickly that something, a throwaway comment that's made, and this happened to me a few times, both the second time and the third time, the throwaway comments that I heard, they became the most valuable pieces of information. It was like, wow, okay, how did you realize that from that? And I would just say, well, and then they would say to me things like, tell me exactly what they said. So exactly, word for word. And then they'd send me back in and say, memorize what they said, because it's certain words that those beings use mean different things. I didn't know that. So I would just tell that to my handler, and you could see it's like, oh, this is a good one. And they disappear off and go and talk and explain or whatever. And I think, I don't know what I've just done, but anyway, that's fine. Can I go now? And off I go. But they would say, make sure it's word for word. Whatever it is that they're doing, make sure you know exactly what it is, because that's what's going to make the difference. So that's when I went back, did my last 20 years, and then was able to go to the return room. The age digressed, regressed, brought back to the same hospital in London, and arrived back there in that year, and then go running out, jump off the operating table, run out, disappear back upstairs with this gown on, that you wear when you have a procedure done, and had my bottom hanging out, and ended up running back upstairs into the into the waiting room. How embarrassing! Into the waiting room with my little bottom hanging out, and everyone saying, "Oh God, what's happened? Get her back down! Get her back down into OR. Put her into the recovery room." What an idiot! And then ended up, unfortunately, just vomiting, because it's an unnatural situation to be running out of theatre in that state. And the doctor, the anaesthetist, had gone upstairs and said, I don't know how she managed to do that. I have given her enough anesthetic to make an elephant go to sleep. So, and that was it. That was from the 2005 one. So
I
that was
find that so interesting again, because looking at the 2007 bombings, right?
2005. Yeah.
Uh, sorry, 2005 bombings. I was thinking numerology seven. Um, just when you came out, and as you've mentioned in previous shows, it was then that your memories started
Yes.
returning.
Yeah.
And we've spoken about it before as well, that honestly, I believe on some level, as horrific as what that was, that train crash was a huge blessing in disguise, because, of course, it almost like had to have, the way I see it, that level of impact
Was
to
bad.
awaken
Mm,
that which had been suppressed in you.
mm,
And your spirit, your soul will always know what it needs to do in order to
yeah.
awaken.
Mm,
And obviously, with all of that, and then you going on this journey of remembering and
mm.
retrieving these memories, God, what a journey. I mean, did you ever have a moment where you could just be happy, Beverly, between all of this and say, wow, today's a good day? I mean, do you
At
even
that
have?
time, no, not at that time, because when I was getting the images and trying to make sense of it, the I was also at the same time physically in a lot of pain, and then I had this whole side of my face, this side here, and then they had to put new cheeks in, because when I hit the pole, it was up here all the way down the side. So all of this was damaged. So I had to go overseas to have everything put back together, because the NHS weren't able at the time. They had no space in the waiting list to be able to do this, and I couldn't live with this side of my face collapsing. And unfortunately, when you go out shopping or you do something like that, people stare. Secondly, they say very unkind things, very, very unkind things. But they stare. And it was so obvious. And I just said, look, I have to I have to get this all repaired. And then I was, for about, I was about a year and a bit that my swallow reflex was an issue. I couldn't swallow. So I ended up having to take everything through a straw. So that was a problem. So I ended up losing a lot of weight, which wasn't very good either. So there was, over that period of time, there wasn't at that time, there wasn't anything that I could say, oh, well, yeah, I had X, Y, and Z. It wasn't. It was a case of dealing with it. And only later was I able to find a way in which things could get better, which was with the horses. And that was, by that time, my body had been fixed, my face had been fixed, I had new teeth here on my jaw, and by that time the swallow reflex wasn't as bad, so I could very carefully eat, solid food. The first Christmas that I had, my Christmas dinner was a piece of very soft bread, and then I had gravy on that, and I had little bits of vegetables and whatever. And I managed. I was very proud of myself. I managed to get that down, and I had pudding and things like that. I mean, that was a big milestone for me. So I had all that to go through before I could get to the point where I could start learning to ride again, start learning to do things that were going to make me happy. And that's when obviously the other book, my second book, came out, because I used that to talk about and get rid of everything, so that it was,
The girl and her horse.
yeah, the horse girl. That was it. It
The
had to
horse
go.
girl, sorry.
Yeah, the horse girl it had to go. I had to make peace with it that way. And that was quite nice. And then I did another interview with another author, and she did, what was it called? The book was called My Rescue Animal Rescued Me. So I was featured in that book as well, which was quite nice, because I had a rescue doggy called Piper, and she never left my side. She was always lying with me on the bed, and she just knew that she had to be with me for that period of time. So yeah, it was a time of healing. It was a very difficult time, but at least I remembered pretty much as I could. I get fleeting memories now of bits and pieces, and I'll have things where I remember facilities, or I remember some of the beings, but it's like it doesn't come as thick and fast as it did in those periods of time. Then it was really, really, it was one of those that I'd wake up and I could be screaming, or I'd wake up in the middle of the night and be screaming, or I'd wake up in the middle of the night and be downstairs in the lounge and think, hang on, how did I get here? That doesn't happen anymore, thankfully. So it's a lot calmer now.
Wow.
I don't have to go back. Yay. Don't have to go back. I'm done. I can live my own life now.
Welcome back.
Mm.
I'm very happy to have you back on home soil again.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful you landed right on the lap of Ara.
That's good. Yes. So I might be a bit strange still. Sometimes I do catch myself. I do catch myself looking a bit odd, but you're going to have that. I think all of us that have returned, particularly others that were more sort of SSP, or they were soldiers, not just in service or a servant like me. I think we all have a bit of a strange way about us, and particularly I think when you look at us in the eyes, I think the eyes do change a lot, and you might see that sometimes, and that's why I put my glasses on, because that hides it. It hides it nicely. Yeah.
Wow. Beverli, thank you. I so appreciate you sharing that. And I know we can definitely have much more conversations about this, but I know these conversations are very tiring. And I know that we're going to give you a bit of a break from Arrow
Yes.
for a month or so. Um, and we will hopefully see you back in a couple of weeks again. Bev just needs to take a bit of a break, guys. She's doing a lot. She just needs to catch her breath. And as you know, she kind of hit the ground running on
Literally.
our laps. So we've got lots of information from
Mm.
Beverly. And I know you've been doing a lot of shows with Danny Henderson as well,
Mm-hmm.
who is also a great friend to this channel. And then, of course, you've got your own channel as well.
Mm.
So for the next couple of weeks, there's lots of binging you can do. And your shows are fascinating because you can listen to a show 5 times over and you will get new information every time. It's so intricate. And there's so many layers to this. Um, and though we, yeah, we've got to open our eyes and ears, guys, on so many levels now. It's not just clunk what we see with our eyes. It's moving through the layers. And
Mm.
then that's how you speak. You're very layered in the way you speak as well, which is amazing. Because what seems like a life you've had, you seem like such a calm person, and you are, no doubt. But when you listen to your story, and I think someone was saying, one of the viewers was saying now, how on earth it must be like for you after that. Sorry, I forget who it was, and I appreciate you guys all chiming in here. Um, you know, and yeah, telling your story with such a cool demeanor, right? And yet, good God, I mean, it's on another level what you've been through.
I think at the
So thank
time,
you.
it really, it was not, yeah, no, it was not easy. It was really awful, actually. And then to have the final straw, which was the 2005, the London bombings, that was just really, what the hell? But if that didn't happen, and if I hadn't have been unconscious, because I had obviously, where I hit the pole here, that was the bang on my head. Um, if I didn't have that, it wouldn't have caused the schism and it wouldn't have brought whatever I pushed to the back to the floor. And then there it was. And you think, oh, wow, okay. And then you start processing all that, which took a good few years. I mean, it took I think it must have taken about 3 years in total to be able to get to the point where things were making sense, all the past stuff was making sense. The off-world stuff was starting to make sense, and then I was starting to see strange things. And then I was able to see when I was going into London or going to other cities that I've been to, I was able to see beings as they actually are and not
Right,
as the cloak.
right,
And I'm thinking, oh my God, what's that in front of me?
right,
Shooey, what is that?
right.
And then suddenly that veil is lifted because that part of your mind is now
Yes,
open,
has been opened.
and you can see them. You think, oh Lord, they're here. And then you just realize I must keep trip still about this because I dare not say anything.
Yeah, right.
Mm,
It's amazing because I can imagine when like the space programs survivors like yourself,
mm,
and again, I also speak for many others that I've spoken to,
yeah.
come back after those kind of jaunts, right?
Mm,
And now you got to try and fit back into the consciousness of Earth and
mm,
deal with a whole bunch of fucking Karens who are trying to tell you how to control your life, right? Who have
mm,
never even been out of their city, yet they are trying to tell you what you must do with yours, type of thing. I know I'm exaggerating a bit here, but you know what I'm saying,
and,
right?
mm,
It's like to come back from that, then deal with human limitations,
Mm.
to put it nicely. I think that must be quite an ordeal.
Yeah, it's an ordeal. And actually, they do have a word for they do have a word for humans. They call, they call us Lulus. We're called Lulus. They say, "Oh, it's another one of those Lulus." It's always a
What's a
derogatory term.
Lulu? What is a Lulu? I don't know what
Lulu.
Lulu is.
A Lulu
Like
is
an
a human
idiot.
being.
Like an idiot.
No,
Like
it's a
a
human. It's a human.
which well if they refer to us as Lulus, that's like nothing significant. Like, oh that Lulu, all right. You
Mm.
know, like yeah, oh gosh, how arrogant. And
Yeah,
yet
but
they
remember,
can't leave us alone.
they
They
are the
can't leave
Dracos are very arrogant.
But yet they can't leave us the fuck alone. They just
Mm.
want our loosh, they want our children, they want our babies, they want our blood, they want to do whatever. I mean, they just like invading our planet, but yet they can't have respect for us because we are just so insignificant. Well, I have a great belief that we are far from insignificant, and they all know we are actually a young, yes, with our splice, our DNA combination, it's a young combination compared to the rest of them. So it's like splicing a new plant, right?
Mm.
You got to see what comes up, and this is the perfect consciousness.
Yeah.
Human beings. If any of you read the book The Ankara Field, right, the honeycomb tales, you will see the Ankh is the human that holds the perfect human geometry. The human being is the young, which is the perfect human geometry when you know how to use it. So it's either going to spiral you, uplift you upwards like fly, but like frequency fly, not physical fly, right? Or spiral you downward into the lead nest, right? There where the Dracos and things hang out with their dodgy ways. So it really is, we have such an amazing capacity to we are master creators, we are master manifestors. We have 30 trillion cells in our body, of which one cell contains enough information to write 1,000 books of 600 pages each. And they call us stupid. Fuck right off, Lizzie, Lizzie the lizard. You just come and you just come and crawl under my desk and my heater will keep you warm.
Well, this is it. Yeah, they are scary, but at the end of the day, they need to grow as much as we need to grow, and we'll just have to
Yes,
all
exactly.
find a way to live together at some point.
Exactly. I love it. And it's what Penny Bradley was saying. She says, we all have to find a way. We're not going to get out of this hellhole we're in until we all find a way to coexist peacefully and realize that we are one. Just because we have different skins or tones or even species, we all come from the same God. The same creator has created all of us. So just because that one takes the shape of something else to what I do, it doesn't make their life any less significant or valuable
Mm,
or important.
mm.
You know, every life is important, and we have to realize that. Otherwise, we are doomed.
I'm sure we will
Wow.
eventually. We will eventually all
No, we
remember.
will. I know. We have to. We have no choice.
No,
You know, we're going to be fighting and killing each other so much that eventually, like, there's nothing left to kill except your biggest enemy, and you and him are the only two alive. And you're going, okay, well, buddy, now it's you and I. Well, let's just chat and have a beer, shall we? Right?
no.
Maybe it's going to take that to end it all and then rebuild everything again. Who knows? But it's fascinating. What a wonderful time to be alive.
It is. Well,
And
it's
I,
history in the making
yeah,
right now. History in the making.
totally, totally. And guys, for those of you who have not read Beverly's book yet, The Horse Girl by Beverly Rhodes, yes, a very important read. It really a amazing book. I have to tell you, I cried a million times reading
No,
it. But
no, it's not an
at the
easy. It's
end,
not an easy read, but it's got at least it's got a good ending, which is the main thing.
it does. And here you are. Yeah, you are. And what a blessing. What a
Thank
blessing.
you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody. I so appreciate you. I'll see you tomorrow with Jesse on Era as well as Solutions. Bev, is there anything you want to say in closing? I know we're not going to see you for a couple of weeks, a month or so, I think you said, but we'll take it and we'll see how it goes. We will take it just see how Bev feels. Anything else from you before we bid
I
you
think
farewell for the
if
moment?
you are interested in the images, I'll be doing, because I'm busy writing now, the Vampire Nanny. So that's going to be a nice little fiction book, keep me busy for a while. But also, I will be doing images. So if you want images, then that's available on my website. But yeah, watch this space, because I'm sure there's going to be all sorts of different things happening. And I'm going to be doing conferences, which is nice. One in Manchester, one in London. So that'll be good. Something very different. And let's see how that goes. I think that'll be good. Yeah. The main thing is stay true to yourself. Make sure that you are at peace with yourself, because that's the only thing that matters. That's all we take with us. And I've learned that through all these different cycles. The only thing that you have is your soul, nothing
Oh,
else.
indeed.
That's all you have. So work on
Indeed.
yourself, work on your soul, make sure you make a difference to yourself, because then you'll be making a difference to all of the people around you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Beverly. Thank you, everybody. God bless you all. Take
Thanks.
care of yourselves.
Thanks all in the
And
chat. Thanks to the moderators, and thanks to everybody listening to me go on endlessly for the last 6 months.
will we book you? Will we book you for the first show to do on your new book, right? The
Well,
Vampire
that'll be good.
Nanny.
The Vampire Nanny, it's going to be a good one, because I've got some old drawings and things. They're very old, though. I'm going to see if I can fix them, because they're very old. They're very old, very scruffy. They've been up in the loft for too long.
Leave my neck alone. Leave me alone.
So funny.
I can't wait to read your book because honestly, that topic for me, no, I mean, seriously, I don't think anyone can even imagine being bitten in the groin by a vampire. Like, people think about that. I'm sorry, I am way too graphic to not even get creeped out by that. However, however, that's why I will forever carry your PTSD, poor Beverly, about that. But it's a fascinating topic
It is.
because we're seeing it playing itself out over and over and
Mm.
over and over again.
The good thing is that the original, the first level, so in other words, after the Nephilim created the abomination of the mixture between Nephilim, giants, and humans, then of course they sort of scoffed everything that was available. So they ended up having to, turn to eating humans. Once that was done, and that's, it's in the Book of Enoch. If you go and get the Book of Enoch, you will see that the Nephilim and the 200 watchers were actually experimenting on humans. I mean, we've been at the
Yes.
forefront of all sorts of experiments here.
And
But
just
they were,
SRA.
yeah,
SRA right back then.
yeah,
And the same fallen angels are still doing SRA.
exactly. Same thing.
Yeah.
And so at least the good thing is that, they're not necessarily few and far between, but they are far more careful than they used to be. They don't go out hunting and do all these various things. They don't. They're not as bad as they used to be, because it's all gone underground. So it's the likelihood of you finding somebody near you and around you, they are mainly in specific countries. There's certain houses that are in specific countries, and there's not a very big house in
Canada. Montreal. Oh
yeah.
my God. That's where a lot of them are.
There's a lot. And
Louisiana.
New Orleans, Louisiana, there's
Yeah.
three
New
villages,
Orleans.
three villages in Louisiana that I know of. New Orleans, yeah, very good hunting ground there. So that's going to be fun. I'm going to New Orleans in March. So that's going to be interesting. We're going to do some research for the book.
Nice.
Yeah, see how many recognize, and you'll see that individuals that have been either touched by or utilized by vampires, there is a tell, and you'll see that everyone has a particular, what shall we say? It's like a mole or a mark, which is on the forearm, in the middle of the forearm, just one, and it's there, and that's the tell. I think you're fine. I think you're fine.
I got a birthmark.
That's not it.
Is that not it either? Okay. Phew, what a relief.
You're fine.
I
Yeah.
was, I
And
was,
you're down in South Africa, so there's very, very few. One of the houses down there,
listen,
they're not that ripe,
yes,
so don't worry.
it's true. In fact, on Jesse's show the other day, we
Mm,
were actually doing the whole, and with Dennis as well, they were talking about the vampires and the werewolves. And the vampires are actually got a website up. And there's a place, only one place where vampires hang out in South Africa, and that's Cape Town.
yeah.
And then we like, look, it'll show you on the website
Mm-hmm.
where they are. And apparently, Jesse was saying as well that there's definitely a huge decline in
Oh, there is.
vampirism
Yeah,
and the
there
vampire clubs and things like that. But now there's only one in Cape Town. The vamps hanging out in Cape Town, they're probably under Table Mountain. And I was like, no, okay, yeah, let's not get
Guess
carried away.
where did I used to live when I was in South Africa?
Where were you in Cape Town? You
Cape
were
Town.
Tafelberg. Weren't you in Tafelberg? Where were
I
you
was
staying? Which area?
I was in Masonburg, Musenberg.
Risenberg.
Mm.
That's where all there's a lot of activity there.
Mm-hmm. Funny that. Mm-hmm.
Did you meet any vamps in Cape Town? In South Africa?
There are vamps in Cape Town, yes.
What do they do? Are they like businessmen? Or do they like
The,
run around at night?
the ones that I'm aware of, yes, they are businessmen. There's one in Hout Bay, there's one in Sea Point, one in Greenpoint. And I'm trying to think of the other one. Oh yes, and there was another one in Bell Rock, near the Bell Rock. He was near the Bell Rock. He liked it because the area reminded him of England at a particular time, particularly the cobble streets and the cobblestones and the old-fashioned houses. So yeah.
He sounds a bit like Jack the Ripper.
No, it's not Jack the Ripper. But you must remember nowadays there's synthetic red stuff. There is, and what's worse is there are a lot of women that are quite happy to offer themselves up, and they will say to you directly, "Is that an offer? Are you offering yourself to me?" They do that. It's free will. You want to offer yourself up as a food source. So, yep.
I cannot imagine why you would want to do that. Why? I mean, like, why? Why be a food source for a vamp? There can be nothing good coming out of that because there's not even a return enjoyment. It's not even like you're having a one night stand with a
no,
guy.
but that's where you're wrong. There is a huge return.
Oh, really? What is that?
There is a huge return. The level of personal euphoria that takes place.
Ah,
There is no substance, and I mean this, there is no substance on earth that can reproduce that.
wow. So what you're saying is when they actually draw blood from you physically, I'm not talking about drinking it out of a bag or anything, and then obviously that saliva, whatever it is, stuff, there's an exchange. So as they draw your blood, how much do they take at a time?
It depends on, it depends on what they need. Because remember, they're not just the red stuff has got life force in it, but it also has, it's like, it's an immediate push of all your memories, all your emotions, everything that's ever happened to you. That's also taken and pushed through to whoever the vamp is. It's not just food, it's energy food as well. It's
Yes,
emotions.
exactly.
That is also living. And it means, unfortunately, it means that you are directly connected to that particular vampire for the rest of your life. They can infiltrate your dreams. They can infiltrate you. They will always know where you are because they keep track of their food source. So it is a totally, totally different experience. And people that have offered themselves as food sources will always have a connection, and they will see those beings in their dreams. And sometimes, if they're very unlucky, they will see them pitching up in their bedrooms, because that happens too. So,
You
but they are high as a kite. That's the only way I can explain it. They are high as a kite on the transference,
and
because it's
how long does
two-way.
that high last for the one who's offered herself or
Initially, the women that used to come to those that I was caretaker of, you'd have to carry them down to the car. So, and they would be like that for a good couple of days. So that's why the feeding would always happen on a Friday, so that they would have the weekend and then wake up on a Sunday and think, oh my God, what happened? But that would be it. They would then wake up properly on a Sunday, and then if they had work to go to or whatever they were doing, they should theoretically be okay by the Monday. But then they will still have relapses, and they will still have period of time where they're completely out of it for quite a while.
so how often can they offer themselves as a food source?
Maybe twice a year, not more, not more.
And do they end up having sticky blood?
Some of them will end up with sticky blood. Yeah, some of them will end up with issues with with hematology types of issues. They will. But it's,
God.
it's one of those things that it's like, it's just unbelievable euphoria. It's like nothing else that anyone else has ever experienced. Speaking to the women, they were like, I need to feel that way again. I need to feel that way. When can I come back? And
So
they used to
would
say
that
no.
would that feeling that you're talking about, the one that they're describing, would that be kind of like the sexual high or the sex magic that they were using with that?
It's
Because,
beyond that.
if
It's
I
beyond
can,
that. Way beyond that. It's like, it's almost like, it's almost becoming like a godlike being, or becoming like, it's almost,
right,
if you have an
like
encounter with
adrenochrome.
an angelic being, how you
Yes,
feel
yes,
when you meet
absolutely.
an angelic being. That's
Yes,
only a portion of what it would be like.
that makes a lot of sense.
Mm.
So, did you have that feeling after the vamp fed? And was there only one that fed off you?
There was only one bite, and that was it. Very short, sharp, sweet, nothing major. But that was a what they call a marking, where they mark those that look after them.
And were you little?
I was little, yeah. So that's what the
Wow.
book does. It's going to explain what you have to go through, how many of us as children had gone through that, because we only did one Friday of every month. The other 3 or 4 Fridays were taken care of by the others. So luckily, we only had one. That was bad enough. So only one.
Yeah.
That's it. And that continues for, however long it is until you've finished what you're doing. They don't all survive, though. This is the whole thing. People
Mm,
think, oh, you go through this, you go through that, and then one, two, three, suddenly you are, you're a vampire. Uh-uh. The chances of you surviving the changes and what you need to go through for that full year, because it takes a year, chances are, less than 1%, less than 1% will make it. Most don't.
interesting. Just the last question here from Susan Moe. Can vampires suffer with leukemia, from leukemia?
No,
Interesting.
no.
And what about stuff like when they take the COVID jabs or stuff like that, or AIDS, any type of blood illness? I
Well,
mean, can they
from
get?
AIDS wasn't around in that time that I
Yeah.
was a vampire nanny, but I'm led to believe now that you must remember that the faculties across those that are full vampires, particularly those that are sort of 400, 500, 600 years old, they have an amazing sense of smell. And if you are diseased and you have a life-threatening illness, they won't come near you. They don't want that. What they're looking for is blood that has a really good set of energy, that has got the right sort of energy, because they can do it two ways. They can either start with you as a psychic vampire and take energy that way, or they can glimmer you, take energy, then take the red stuff. So there's two ways of doing it. And that then will be the types of individuals that they are looking for or that they approach, would be those that have the right sort of energy that they are looking for in a person.
Mm.
They will never take anything from somebody who is, on the way
They'll
out
smell
or
it,
has
I'm
some
sure.
issues. Oh, they
They'll
can
certainly
smell it.
smell it, yeah.
Yeah,
Like
they can smell it.
they
They can see
want
it. Yeah, they
fresh,
will. No,
fresh, good blood.
then that's
I
it.
can
So you'll
imagine.
find it's youngsters. Um, you won't find somebody that is, old like me. They're not going to bother with me. They won't. They would rather, if they're going to take someone or ask someone or make a deal with someone, it's going to be a young person. It's not going to be someone. I doubt very much. Very much. I don't think there's many out there that are over the age of 38.
Wow.
Because we remember age 40, your whole body changes. And
Yes,
at age 40,
absolutely.
you have a completely different way forward. So
Right.
they have to get to you pretty much before you turn 40. After 40, you're already on a totally different trajectory. They're not interested in 40-year-old energy. I will
I'm
explain all of
safe.
this. So you're safe. I'm safe. Anyone that's heading up to 40 will be safe.
Indeed. Well, I'm after 40, long after. Grandma's got a birthday coming up in 2 weeks. So,
Oh,
can you believe it's that
congratulations,
time of the
young one.
year? In
Yeah.
fact, it's exactly 2 weeks today.
Oh,
Jeez, can you
bless her
believe it?
heart.
It felt like just the other day. I was celebrating. I will be celebrating again this year.
Yes. Enjoy this year. It's going to be a good year.
Yeah, for sure. And it's the year of the
Fire
fire
horse.
horse.
I know. Isn't it
Yeah.
awesome?
Guess
Yeah.
who's the fire horse?
You must be.
Me.
Yeah. 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 I'm an ox. Oh, my goodness. How awful. I'm
Are
an ox.
you a, are you a metal ox?
I'm an ox. It's like, oh, goodness me.
What
Really?
kind of ox are you?
I actually don't know. I need to go and have a look. I think I looked at it years and years and years ago when I was working in Hong
I
Kong. Somebody said to me, "Oh,
could.
you're an ox. You're this, da, 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 da." And that was like, what was that? That was 20. Oh, that's 26 years ago. Good Lord. I know. Long
Well,
time.
the fire horses occur every 60 years. And you know what? It was set in China, right? Any other fire horses around you will know what I'm talking about. In China, they went in '66. They took out a lot of the girl babies, the female babies, because you know that obviously in Eastern traditions they're very into this sort of stuff. Because the fire horse women were not good for men. Apparently, way too independent,
Oh,
giving men way too many problems, and yeah, generally caused men way too much trauma. And there's a specific word they use for it, but basically, yeah. So this is the year of the fire horse of
so
the
those
of
that
the
survive
independent woman of the independent horses.
independently, good, nice. Well, congratulations to fire horses. You've made it this far. Yay!
Yeah, gosh, guys. For the rest of us fire horses, it's been a mission. 60 years! 60 years.
Wow.
Wow. Anyway, take it easy, everybody. I will see you tomorrow.
Enjoy.
Beverly,
Bye,
I'll
everyone.
see you soon. Take care. God bless everyone and have a beautiful, beautiful day. Thank you
Thank
for joining us. Like, share, subscribe. It helps keep the algorithms of that channel up and it just helps more people getting the information.
True.
Really, really, really appreciate that. Take care, everybody. God bless. Okay,
Bye.
bye.